Before we begin the video, I just want to show you we have these elm trees for sale, Chinese lacebark elm. It's well implemented, it's easy to maintain. After you clip a few times, it will become quite a magnificent tree that's for your liking. Please go to our website. Now you can order it directly from there. Let's continue with the video. Hi, I'm miltonchang of Bonsaiheirloom. I have four junipers. This is a cutting that was cut about 2 months ago, and you can see it's rooted amply. What I'll do today is to show you how you can grow this sapling, this cutting, into a small juniper, and then you can plant it, this juniper in the ground, and 10 years or so, maybe 15 years or so, you have a tree like that. This tree, I actually got it from a growing nursery. Growing this very large juniper, he's trained it to probably about this high. It's actually the prostrata juniper by definition is prostrating, but he staked up the tree to make it grow tall, and then the trunk thickens, and I cut it back. Probably about here, and to shorten it. And then this part was very small branches, but grew back to become that. And so I want to talk about the process of taking a cutting to growing a small juniper plant into this, and what to do next to create this. And I think by next year, this tree can go into a show. And I'm not going to do drastic cutting as I usually do, because now I want to do the fine tuning so that it will be looking more refined. So I will take a cutting from this tree, this branch. Well, let me take one from here. This is obviously too long. I will never use it. So I want to show you. Well, this one is not a very old wood, so you cannot see too much of the bumps. Whereas if you look here, you can see all these bumps. You see these little round bumps on a mature branch. This one doesn't have any, that's a young branch. So if you cut it here and you plant it, these bumps will come out as roots. These are kind of the hidden roots, I call it. I think they call it interstitial roots, and they root out very quickly. Some people, if you keep the water fresh, you can grow them, root them in water. But if you put it in one part of coconut coir or peat moss with one part of a perlite, it should root very quickly, and never let it dry out. Let it keep it moist. And so if you take a cutting and you let it grow, and that's how quickly it roots out in about 2 months, less than 2 months. And when I pull it out, I broke some of the roots, but that should be fine. And I should plant it fairly quickly, and it will rejuvenate. You can see these little bumps that became roots eventually. And then you can plant it at an angle so that the tree can grow three-dimensionality. But prostrata juniper have a way of growing at different turns to give you the design opportunity. Just like I'm sure this tree was planted straight, but this created a curve by itself because they have a natural tendency to do that. And as I'm at it, you can see when I break off, this part becomes more red. In fact, it becomes quite red if I give it a little bit of a polish, in strong contrast with the gray bark. So you can do a lot with it, and in this case, you can see the termites get to work, or the carpenter ants, to create all these little features to make the tree look very interesting. You can see all these little bugs. I think these are the miniature carpenter ants. They do a lot of damage. So after this demonstration, I will spray it with ant spray to get rid of them. Otherwise, the entire tree will hollow out, and eventually the tree dies. But that adds nice features to the tree, you know. Everything you make lemonade when you have lemon, and you make use of nature. So To continue the growth of the tree, the cutting you grow in a 1 gallon pot, and when they get to a certain size, you move it into 2 or 5 gallon pots, and then you eventually plant in the ground for rapid growth. And if you don't have the ground, then put it in an oversized nursery pot, and it should grow fine. This tree was grown in the ground for probably 12 years, and I dug it up about a month ago or two, and you can see it's starting to grow to overcome the root loss and started to grow. And normally what I do is I take this tree, I study the characteristic, the structure, and then cut off all the redundant branches, save some for gin, and then let it build up again, so-called the cut and growth method, which is you use the reduction method. Just like in machining, you machine out the redundant metal to make a part, and then you use the laser sintering, the additive manufacturing to create the shape you want. So that's the combination. You cut it back to the core and let it grow back again and retain some of the branches for making gin. And then you're going to have a very interesting tree over time. That's a compromise between what nature wants to do and what you wanted the nature to do by nudging along the natural growth of the tree. This way, you will not have every tree look alike. You know, you look at some of the old bonsai books, they're really admirably beautiful, but yet every tree are more or less the same. A very nice curve in the bottom and then a big hat and the number one, number two branch. You know, it's really more of a craft. You follow rules to follow certain design, whereas in art, it's a free flowing, and this allows you to free flow. So I will save this tree rather than working on this. I'll focus on this one and save this tree for next week. And I will use this tree as a demonstration of how to turn a tree you collected from your garden to make into a bonsai. So without further ado, let me work on this tree. So first of all, you want to do is to study the front and the apex. You want to make sure you work on the roots first. But in this case, I already put it in a pot. There's not much I can do with this tree because in terms of the roots, because I already planted the roots. But if I look at it, I think there's plenty time to create what is the front, because you can see this is a much broader base at this angle, whereas the other side is quite a bit narrower. You kind of want to find the big flat base, fat base to be the front. So this tree can in fact be at this angle. Then I have better make this tree like this branch. I probably don't want to keep it because I want to show the bottom, whereas now it's totally covering the bottom. It wouldn't show off the bigger base. So let me begin working. As usual, I should work on the root first, and in fact, I did in this case by saying, this is beautiful rootage below, and I should use that as the front. And so this will be the front. If you look at this tree, I selected this to be the front because I found the basis very interesting. But the other hand, the tree is going way far back and then come back with this little contrive or a little bit extreme. So one thing I can do is I can tilt it to make it less tilting backwards. And that's the kind of a thing you can do to adjust when you repot it. So now you can see the tree is less tilting back. In fact, if you look at from this angle, you can see it's going back and then turning forward to create a three-dimensionality. So you have a tree that's coming this way and going back. And now looking at that design, where should be my apex? I think this could be my apex. Right now, it's growing down, and it's a possibility let this one grow up to become like this to become the apex. the tree comes up like this and goes up this way, and then you have a tree branch coming up, going that way. Uh, that is a kind of a long-range plan. It would take this branch, actually about 2 years at most, a year, it will be a branch about this tall and to become a decent apex. So now you can see this tree from, later on I'll cut off this branch to be more visible. You can see this tree is going like this and coming up like that. And then this is the apex and that goes down and so forth. I think that would look very nice. So I would in fact make this the apex also as a demonstration how little patience gives you design opportunity. Like if you wire it, you can't possibly wire that up. Like this will look very contrast. It's not too bad. I can say this branch coming out this way and coming out this way and then jogging up. So this can be the apex and this can be the lower branch. But this looks awfully puny. But if you, 1 year, it should get to this size and become a respectable apex for this tree. So in fact, that is the design I will adopt. And rather than boring you with this, after today's demonstration, I'll take it out of the pot in 2 weeks when my gardener is back. He can help me with it. And I will spray it very extensively, get rid of all the carpenter ants. And this tree should be very, very fine. So let me begin working on it. Again, keeping in mind, I've decided this top is coming up like this. That's a little jog coming up. And then these are the branches going down. I think that should be fine. And now, let me cut off this branch in order to show more of the bottom. Because it is now, you can't, this is hiding the base, and then there's plenty on one side, so you're kind of like spreading like that. So with that in mind then, I would in fact cut off all of this. It's kind of a brutal thing. You really kind of hate to do it, but you know, what can you do for the sake of design? So I got rid of this branch. And I want to make it into a gin, so I use a gin maker to peel off all of this. You can see this is an instant gin. During the active growing season, juniper bark is really easy to peel and to give it this nice gin look. All I have to do is just loosen the bark and peel it off quite effortlessly. I can crunch a little bit better, but that does it anyway. And if you don't peel it off too completely, that's fine. It's a little bit of contrast. You don't expect nature to be 100% pure in what happens, but you know, a little bark left, remaining brown. The rest of turn white gives an interesting feature, more like happening in nature naturally. Well, nature by definition is natural. That's a gin. Gin just means a dead trunk. And you can see that adds a little bit of nice feature, and that the coloration. And what you do is that you try to break up this a little bit more naturally. You expect the tree to be not cut in nature, but rather drop off due to the weathering. So that makes it look a little bit more natural breaking off. And this little bit of coloration adds a feature to it. So I should really work on the top first. And as a reminder, I will be doing this. But let me do a little bit more careful job with it, which I don't normally do to start you off with a good practice. I will wire this one a little bit because it's kind of like pointing down. I want it to point up a little bit. So I will actually use wire. I do use wiring when necessary, and especially towards the late stage of a development of a tree, because when I do cut and growth, I more or less start over again, which, you know, you don't want to spend that time towards the end of as it get closer to being show ready. So the truth is that I'm not going to mess up with this by pulling this off, but I want all of this to grow rapidly to thicken this trunk to about this high, and that would be my apex. Right now, this is a little bit below this level, but when it gets to this high, you will not notice that, and that this part should be fine. So again, this one, it's a little bit kind of towards the this side of the trunk, which is not highly desirable. I should try to maintain this one, so I will actually twist it. And instead of cutting to poodling to create a pad, at this late stage, there's plenty growth. I'm actually using pinching so that the pads will look very much more natural than I can try to emulate nature by poodling. So that's the kind of a thing, little things you do to speed up the process. So this branch is coming out. It's got branch going this way. So I think I don't need the middle one. And I'm peeling this the middle part to make it into a little bit of a chin. So you can see the time I spend on a tree in the early stage is not much. I just go in and chop, and it's, to form its initial design shape. But as you get older, when the tree fills out and you're trying to work it, you have to be a little bit more careful so that you don't start over again in a sense of being too sparse. And this branch is bumping into that one, so I rather cut it and let it force to go this way. In fact, this one I have to wire it, which is fine. I should wire it. If I wire it, I pull out the bottom to create a pad fairly quickly. So I'm restraining my instinct to cut, but think of ways I can use wiring to speed up the process. You really should use everything in your repertoire, in a sense, the techniques or the tools or whatever necessary that you know about, and apply to your bonsai. So I am not really opposed to wiring at all. As you can see, I am wiring, but I don't do it unless I have to for the optimum opportunity, optimum reasons, rather than every branch has to be wired. It takes me forever. But I do a few major ones and do a little bit of a guy wiring, and the tree can look nice pretty quickly. So that will be the tree, but then this one, the two are going out like this, so I'd rather cut this off. Hopefully this will fill out to make it look less appearing to be an arch. So that part is done, that's the apex, and that one is a little bit of problematic. I really rather it go down at this angle rather than at this top. It's not a really problem that is up on high because this branch will show up, go up here. But nonetheless, I prefer to have it down a bit. And so I will break this branch. You can see I'm breaking it, cracking it. And this way I can make this branch go down. It's being held on the bottom, so this branch will not die. But at the same time, it will be satisfying to my design angle. So now I will hold it down with a guy wire. You want to do everything possible to get the shape you want, including techniques such as breaking the branch to go in the direction I think it should go, so long as you don't kill the branch. And there are a number of times I actually crack the branch too much that I wind up using tape to hold it back together, and they will recover actually, so don't worry too much about it. So now, this branch really will look so much nicer. Look at that. When it's down like that, like an old branching old branch that's broken off due to the weight of the branch and during a thunderstorm. And that creates the natural look. I better stop pulling just so I don't kill that branch. Now you can see the tree's got a lot more angle, more character, and this opened up to see the bottom, which is very interesting for whatever the reason it grew like this, and this hole, and you can see a little bit from the front, the ant tunnel, and this branch I think is kind of a lost cause. So I'll see what I do with it. I'll probably kill it because it would look a little bit, you know, my triangle is shaping this way, not that way. So I'll probably kill this branch, but I will try to save as much as the old branch as possible at the chin. Now look at this, there's a lot of design possibility. This tree is coming out like this, and then going back like this. So let me be a little careful in working on this branch, these branches to make it look nice. But this is bumping into that side, so I don't need it. And this is coming nicely. And I think you don't want to keep going this way, so you can let it go this way. You can see I'm not wiring, but more do the pinching, pulling all the leaves off. As the tree gets closer to maturity, you do more pinching than cutting. So it's going like this, like this, like this, like this. So all these twists are created by cutting, more by wiring, which tend to be more natural because you're taking them into the natural tendency growth of the tree into consideration. So I would just let these branches grow, fill out the next time so I can work on it again. It will have a lot of growth in about 6 months. So this branch really going back doesn't make any sense. So I just cut it and make that into a chin. The branches that doesn't look like it's growing the natural direction. You cut it off, so everything kind of rhymes. You know, all the branches tend to follow the same sun, same wind blowing, and so therefore they tend to rhyme with each other more or less in the same direction, in the same way. So when in doubt, think of what nature would do, and you couldn't be too far wrong. So you don't want this branch to come out too far. So you cut that off, make that into a chin, and let this one take over. Okay, this branch is very interesting. It goes this way and come this way. That makes it look very interesting. And then this branch can go to the back. So you can see many of my trees have very interesting turns, and none of them are contrived, but rather by taking advantage of the natural growth habit of the tree. And see what this branch would develop into before I worry too much about what to do with it. In about 6 months, I'll redirect it. So that's pretty much done on this part. So now let us take a look at that in terms of what that would look like with or without that branch. So again, using my handkerchief, quote unquote, jerk, I hide this branch. Looks a little bare, doesn't it? And but I can try to use a little bit of this to cover it up. So what do you think? Should I take off this branch or make it into a chin or keep it green so there's a big lump of green here? So basically, using this method to hide this branch, I can decide whether I make this part a chin and take this part take over, so the tree will be an apex here and going down, really kind of hovering towards that direction like a wind was blowing in that direction. Or I make this into a chin, as I said, or I keep this part and make this into a, this is protruding this way, but I can make this into a kind of a rambling branch on this side and fill it up. I think that could be nice too. So, since I can always cut it off later, although this one is already kind of halfway broken, but let me try to save this for now, work on this and see what it will look like. Very contrived, very different, but it's a design. It's a natural tree. So let me try that. In fact, I should probably take a thing and hold it so I don't break this branch off by accident, by bumping into it. It won't heal, but it will stiffen, just like I caught this. I didn't pull this because it's held down by the wire. So now let me work on this. In fact, it can become quite interesting. So I'm going to capitalize on this little curve, and then it goes out that way. So you can see this branch is coming down like that. That's a linked thing like this, and it goes out like that. It may not be very obvious now, but in 6 months you can see this is a very nice, interesting curve. So this doesn't look very good, but I think this part looks very interesting. This part may very well become a chin. Must make it into a chin to be dramatic. Why not? Just leave it for now. Yeah. Okay, now I got to work on the top. See if I can go on that side. So this is actually a little bit long because the tree is more like going this way. So I need to shorten this and let that one go to the back. See what I can do there. Well, this is a less challenging side. And given that this is the front, I should really come to the front and study it before I do any drastic cutting, lest I'll be regretting it. To take into consideration, someday I may not keep this branch, so I have to be a little careful with what I do with this branch. From the design of this tree, this being the apex, this has really gone too far. So I think making that part somewhat of a shorter is not a bad idea. So I will work around this to make that part shorter. And that part, unfortunately, that is kind of a no branching here till quite far out. That's again too far. So I'll probably cut that off and make that into a bit of a chin. And then I have to be more careful making this branch to fill that hole a little bit carefully. So with that in mind, I will shorten this one drastically, actually, to about, I think about here. All of this will become chin, and then this one will become chin. Okay, that is a decision. Since I cut back drastically already, before I kill the branch to make it into chin, I will come to the front and study it one more time to see if that's a correct decision, because I can always let the green grow back to save the branch. Yeah, I think that's okay. If I make this dead, this branch ends about here, and that's the kind of the triangle, which is okay. So I feel okay to do this. So this branch goes quite drastic, huh? And I break it a little bit more carelessly, so it looks like more natural death. So you peel the bark off the back, so the branch half are dead, half alive. That's very interesting looking. So be very bold when you make gin. When you peel off a branch, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It will heal, grow back in a way that's what nature will make it do, which makes it look natural and interesting. You know, we are trained by nature to see what nature does, and we enjoy that as being natural and interesting. So it's okay. So now this is going back way too far. Again, I cut it to make it into a gin, and then make this grow back. And I'm not going to hurry that. Let it grow back a bit. I can wire it if necessary. I can cut open, and then I can peel it. It's hard to peel without the opening first. But this part is dead. It's hard to make that into a gin. Someday, if I really want to take the trouble, I can use a grinding wheel to grind off the brown bark. See, the living part is quite easy to peel, whereas the dead part is quite hard to peel, impossible to peel. This tree, this juniper was staked up and planted in a 36-inch box, very large landscaping box tree that actually cost quite a bit of money even as a tree. And at that time I was not so fixated enough. You can see I cut off here, which is the growth part up here. And I don't think I air layered it. I just threw it away, which I could have air layered it and make it into a bonsai as well. Would be a very nice bonsai because it's already pretty thick. But I didn't know any better at the time. That's about, oh gosh, 20 years or 25 years ago. I wasn't a very experienced bonsai person. But today I think I know a little bit more. That's how you learn, you know. Rome is not built in one day. But I don't need to peel this too cleanly because it would die off and look okay, look kind of a natural dead process. I want to peel off as much as I possible. Okay, so that part is done. And this one I wanted to grow into pads. And this I want to grow into pads. I really did not know what the tree will be when I bought it, called it 25 years ago, but I chopped it anyway. And that was a little branch that came up, and that became the angle, interesting curve. So you gradually pick the angle and the curve to retain it for your design purposes. And that's how you create drastic design by your own inclination. But you start off with a pretty big branch, so you don't have to start with a little tree. It takes forever to grow. Okay, this is the last branch. And so this tree, this branch looks very interesting. It's got an interesting curve. I didn't do it. It just happened to be there. And then these are also here. So let me just start to work on this. And in about 5 minutes, we'll be done. I'm cutting off the redundant branch and try to be as safe as much as I possible can for it to grow back. So you look for, even though it's a big tree, you look for this little curve because that's an interesting feature. Someday when the tree is ready for show, people O and R notice these things, and that's what you want to create to create the features. I call it your repertoire to make your tree look interesting. And like this branch is actually quite critical because if I do well, it will have interesting features. Otherwise, it's a bit of a lost cause. You can see this tree has been transformed into something quite specific. Again, the apex, I apologize, it's not very prominent right now. But in about a year, this part will be this tall. Just imagine that's how much a 1 gallon tree would grow. And then you can now have a tree that's coming up like this, makes a nice turn, go backwards, come out, come up, and then all these branches coming down. I think it will be a very nice tree. This one, I may decide to take it off and accentuate this one. But in the meantime, if these curves turn out to be attractive, then I think I got an interesting tree. In the meantime, you have a base that's this large. These roots have to clean up. Like I will cut this roots off or make it because then otherwise this will be kind of silly. This one is okay. This is really good. And these are really good going down. And this one, I have to decide, depending on what's behind, maybe to get rid of this one. So the tree would really look natural because in nature, it grabs the earth, you know? Like this part's way too full, but I wanted to encourage a faster growth, so I just leave it alone. The objective of today's this video is to show you how you can start with a cutting. In this case, it's a 2-month cutting from a branch. And you take that and you grow in a 1 gallon can. And then you put the 1 gallon can into a 2 or 3 or 5 gallon can. And then you grow in the ground for 10 to 15 years. And this tree, I will work on it next few weeks, next week or two, to see how I transform a collector tree from the garden into a bonsai. The first step by doing drastic cutting, so there's very little green left. And then it grow back, and I cut it again and again. Like this tree eventually becomes like that. Like I said, this one was actually from a 36-inch box that's fairly stout, already staked up, that I cut off here a branch about this big, and then took this branch and let it grow out about 25 years ago. And that's the result. And by the time when I take this bonsai out of the pot and replant it back into this pot by taking out, by turning it, I think the tree will look really, really nice. And again, what I did is I thin it back, keep the structure, create a lot of chin, and then look for the features such as these termite scars. That would be very interesting. And in the big cut, I would take a chisel to make a hole or something. So the tree will look really, really nice. And that's the kind of a patience you have to use to create your own bonsai. In this case, took a mature tree that's probably grown for 20 years and work on 25 years to make it into this bonsai. So, you know, that's what it takes time. It's a continuous improvement. You see opportunity to modify the design 1 year at a time, 1 step at a time. Eventually, you have a nice tree. So I hope you enjoy this bonsai and you can go and try your own hands to create your masterpieces. So thank you very much. I hope to see you next week. Well, thank you very much for watching today's video. Subscribe to our channel and tell a friend. And most importantly, go to our website and sign up to become our VIP so that we can send you announcements of special considerations. Thank you very much. See you next week.